I mean, what the hell is this? I really don't understand it. What the hell is wrong with y'all? You ain't that damn good. Stop acting like it.
Some ineffectual privilege defeats soft penis debutante.
Stop right there. Stop.
We think it amazing.
We're back.
Hello. Oh, wait,
Back
I'm on
again.
intro this one.
Today we are looking at the Melbourne Renegades. Some of the best young Aussie talent going around. Fraser McGurk, Will Sutherland, Fergus O'Neill. He might be a little bit of talk of test match stuff, but we'll leave that for now. Josh Brown's there as well. A lot of stuff to sort of dig into as my co-host can't stop finding himself too funny. You need to read out the team list for us because I'm not doing that. It's your job. Take us
Look,
away.
okay. Can I defend myself first?
Nah, read.
Your Honour. We just recorded an NFL one where I host. I'm not used to taking the beta backseat role. I do like it though, but I'm not used to it. So
That's
therefore, I
not surprising.
spoke out of turn. I'm sorry, headmaster.
I run
yeah.
the show here.
There's levels here. There's levels to that. I could go
This is the
further,
big
but we
boys.
won't. Oh, ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Sorry.
That's stealing
Let's look
content.
at some. Yes, it is. I shouldn't do that. Ain't that the truth? Okay.
Read out the team.
Let's look at some cricket, shall we? All right. Melbourne Renegades. We have got quite a team here. Not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's a team. It's a quite a team.
There's 11 of them.
There's 11 of them, arguably 10, depending on what your thoughts are of Will Sutherland, the batsman, because that's what we're looking at here. To start out, we have Josh Brown and Tim Seifert, who will open up top for preference, not for preference, to add context. This is the best round one lineup that they can come up with. Josh Brown, Tim Seifert. At number 3, I've got Jake Fraser McGurk. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Number 4, I've got Laurie Evans. Number 5, currently I've got Mackenzie Harvey in there right now. I'm not happy about it, but I think it's what's going to be. Number 6, I've got Hassan Khan, newly signed Pakistani all-rounder. He's a pretty decent bat. Bowls a bit of left arm off spin. We'll get into him shortly. Number 7, I've got Will Sutherland, then Tom Rogers, Fergus O'Neill, Kane Richardson, and Adam Zampa. So, what does this mean, you might ask? Well, let's work our way from the top order down, shall we? Josh Brown. Now, around 2 weeks ago, there was a theory that Josh Brown might be the 6th bowler. Now, what does that make me feel? It makes me think, well, the Renegades would come last if that was the case.
They might anyway.
They might anyway. That's exactly right. Otherwise, we treat Josh Brown the same way you treated Josh Brown at the Heat, except he's not batting on quite literal highway roads like he would at the
M2.
Gabba. The M2. He's not batting on the M2. Instead, he's batting on probably the hardest to bat wicket in Australia, aka Marvel. It is
Not
slower. It is slower than a 90-year-old driving. It's everything you hate as a batsman. It's just slow. It's rubbish. It's a spinner's paradise. I can't go near Josh Brown this year. What about you?
Well, if he's bowling, I was saying an opening batsman with an all-rounder.
Well, look, he was going to bowl, but then they've signed Hassan Khan. Now, admittedly, if Will Sutherland can't bowl, then yeah, all of a sudden, sure. But is it going to even be good?
Look, probably not, considering he's an opening batsman. So there's just that sort of
Stigma?
Yep. Oh, look at that. I don't mind Josh Brown. It's just not for me right now, at least. I don't have any real reasoning, which is probably what someone watching this might want. I don't have that, unfortunately. There's nothing real and some substance rather. There's nothing statistical about it. It's just
It's
not for me.
vibe. It's the vibe.
It's just not for me, unfortunately.
No.
Um, I like what he's about. I like that he makes bats. I like that he hits big bombs. It's almost Chris Lynn-ish 2.0 if he was good.
Is he a Bash
He's
brother?
okay.
Is
Well,
he a Bash
maybe
brother?
he's not at the Heat, so maybe not. But
No.
he just needs to be a bit more consistent to reach Chris Lynn 2.0. So it's on high praise early. But again, like what he's about, just not for me at the moment. I would have said also, just as a side point, Geelong's pretty hard to bat at considering the abandoned match we saw last season.
Well, that was a dodgy pitch, but when they get their pitch right, it's like 230 a side because the ground's 40 metres in length at the boundaries.
Yeah, it's not
You hit a
that bad.
top edge, it goes. As long as the pitch isn't going to kill you, you might be okay.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then you've got Tim Seifert now, the New Zealand keeper bat. He's $152,000. I can't say I've seen much of Tim Seifert, but I would like to look at his form and sort of form a live judgment. So I'm getting his form up here. Um, he's played a bit in the IPL. He's been around. He's 28, 29 years old. The form's okay. It's okay. He scored 100 in the what's it called? The New Zealand ODI domestic comp, 1 day domestic comp rather. But his T20 form's okay without being amazing. The one benefit with him is that he has that double round one, of course, as the Renegades do. And he also, because he's from New Zealand, we don't have this acclimatization to the bounce of Australia that you get from most imports. So we have a bit of a benefit there. Otherwise, this isn't for me, I don't think.
I don't think it's really for me that there was a point in time where I thought, yeah, maybe, because he's probably the opener I trust out of the Renegades. Obviously, with the double game round to start us off, you're looking for Renegades players, as unfortunate as that might be. He's only owned by 8.9%, or if you like the actual number, 2,391 people. So that's not a lot of people for Tim Seifert. There's no doubt, regardless of form, he is a quality player. And he will be, I can only imagine, the more consistent batsman out of the two openers. So from that point, I like it, but he's a little bit more on the expensive end. 152,000. When you don't know about Glenn Maxwell, when maybe that means Matt Short, and a little bit of unknown sort of stuff at the moment, it's just not for me.
No, and look, I'm not saying that he's a trap or a fade or anything. I think he's a reasonable pick, but it's just not really moving the needle in terms of, you know, am I desperate to pick him? No, not really. In saying that though, um, like he does have a double round one, very easy to flip him to Josh Inglis round two. It's just that's a rostered on trade that you'd be making. So the question you ask yourself is, if I was to save the trade, who's going to score more in 3 games, Josh Inglis or Tim Seifert?
Mm.
And I think that answer is very dependent on what your feeling is about each side's top order. You know, does Tim Seifert have to anchor? You know, probably because you've got Josh Brown, Fraser McGurk, and Laurie Evans in your top four. That's a lot of firepower.
Yeah, it'll be 60 or 250 for the Renegades in the
Exactly.
game.
And so maybe you see Tim Seifert strike at 130 and try and average 45 with the bat this year. Um, that's well possible. Then on the flip side, Josh Inglis has the luxury of batting around Keaton Jennings, Aaron Hardy, and Finn Allen. So Aaron
Mm.
Hardy's your anchor, and to an extent Jennings, I suppose. But you've got this situation where Josh Ingles can just play his natural game, and his natural game is very aggressive. We know that very well. But this is not a Josh Ingles. This is not about the Scorchers. We've talked enough about the Scorchers. This is all about the Renegades. So at number 3, Jake Fraser McGurk.
Mm.
His form's atrocious, but
Oh, disgraceful.
there is the fact that, you know, he could still rock up round 1 of the Big Bash and score back-to-back 60-plus runs in both of his games. He could just
Yeah,
flick a switch.
absolutely.
So there's that.
It's so hard. Just I like again. There's another player. I just like what he's about. I like what Jake Fraser McGurk does, and I cast my mind back to when we played the West Indies in a white ball series of games earlier this year, and he chased down their 64 or something when we played at Monaco Oval, basically all by himself. And I liked watching that. That was fun for me. Um, and he's relatively cheap. Like, again, I'll mention Short and Maxwell. Like, when we're having to deal with those players and their price points, 550,000 basically dollars to get both of them in, it can be appeasing. There is also the fact that he is owned by 42% of players, so whether you look to go against that, like it wouldn't be hard to, I don't think. It wouldn't be hard to be sitting on the negative side of Jake Fraser McGurk being like, look at his form, look at what, like you just look at how burn or bust he is, and there's someone, you'd see the bust come out all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now the one thing about that is that you've got your best 11 out of 12 players. So if you feel like you have a very solid lineup and you can
Yeah.
accommodate someone like Fraser McGurk to, he could pump out 5 in a double
Mm.
or 205, right? Um, the ceiling is quite large on Fraser McGurk, but the floor is very, very low. Um, if you're willing to take that sort of risk, then I think he's worth a shot. Um, in saying that, I don't know if I am willing to take that risk. I'm still mulling that decision over in my head. Number 4, you've got Laurie Evans. He could bat as low as number 5. There is the thinking that you've got Jacob Bethel that comes in at some point.
Mm.
And the question is, where do they bat Bethel? Because he's playing as a test match number 3. Number 4 feels too low for him. So do they push Fraser McGurk to 4? Unlikely. What I could really see happening is Josh Brown gets pushed out of this side. But there's a lot of directions they could go with this. You could just bat Bethel at 4. And for now, I think we will assume that Bethel bats at 4 when he arrives. In which case, Laurie Evans drops down to 5. So unless you're willing to ride with him at number 4 just for this double and sell him immediately, I think you can just let him go. I don't believe. Do you have anything to add to Laurie Evans?
Uh, it's a couple of interesting points you raised with that. I think Laurie Evans batted 5 for most of the games for the Scorchers last season. I'm pretty sure, and he did an effective job. Oh, that was that. What 80 odd he scored off probably 20 something balls. Probably not, but that ridiculous innings. And he had a couple of okay and quick innings after that as well. I don't see any reason why he couldn't go to 5 and Bethel bats 4. I think I don't like Fraser McGurk opening, but I also don't like him at 4. I think 3 is sort of perfect for him because on the odd chance the openers get away, they're none down after 8 overs. I think they can open up the game for Fraser McGurk, but also at the same time, even if he comes in after ball 1, there's some purchase there for him. it's all up to him, really, is what I'm saying, which has sort of been the problem nonetheless. But
Yeah.
Bethel coming in, he's meant to be a generational talent, this Bethel, so it'll be good to see him. Obviously, performed very well in the Test match against England, against New Zealand rather. He is English. I wouldn't be picking Laurie Evans if he's batting 5 though. Like, I wouldn't bother with Laurie Evans, to be honest.
Not at 136k. Like if we're
No.
talking low hundreds, well then maybe that's a different discussion. But no. Mackenzie Harvey, look, I think you and I discussed this just casually. He's due to break out if he's ever going to do it. It's now or never, just about. Like he's young, but been around long enough where they'll just discard him if they're not careful. If he's not careful, so he's got to take a hold of this opportunity to be in the lineup again. I believe he's 24 from memory, but you're onto that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll move to number 6, where I have Hassan Khan. Now this is where I would like to talk extensively, but quickly, how old is Mackenzie Harvey?
He's 24, and yeah, just a little bit on him. We did discuss, obviously, the other day that it's looking sort of prime opportunity for him to sort of break out this season. So we'll have to sit and wait and see. But
Yeah.
there's a chance. I think there's a decent chance as well. But anyway, we'll talk about Hassan Khan.
Yes. So when we look at Hassan Khan, we're talking about a guy that averages with the bat. It says only 20 and a strike rate of 130. Okay. It doesn't sound great, right? When
Not
we look
really.
at his recent form and where he's been batting in T20 comps, he's been batting at 6 and he's been doing a pretty good job. So in the T20 format, these are his last 10 scores. Okay. I'm going from latest first. So he got one in, that global T20 Super League comp, whatever it's called. Yeah, so he's in that.
Yeah.
He got 27 not out, 25 not out, 10, 36, 13, 27 not out, 57, and 32. And this is all batting at number 6. He's going at a fair old strike rate in the sense that, like, his 27 not out came off 18 balls. Let's see, his 25 not out, that came off 12 balls. Then if I look here, his 36, it came off, hang on, where is it? 20 balls. He's 57. It came off. Hang on, no, we're looking at his 27 apparently. His 27, it came. Oh, his 57 came off 36 balls again. So like frequently above this 160 strike rate. His 27 not out also came off 15 balls, and then finally his 32 not out. If that loads for me, thank you. Yeah, 11 balls. So he's striking frequently at over 200, not over 200, over 160. It's like we're looking at someone who's also frequently getting above 20 runs. Uh, so, you know, you're looking at close to 40 points with the bat, and then he bowls left arm off spin, and he bowls well. I won't go into the full details, but 1 for 18, 2 for 31, 1 for 15, none for 22, 1 for 42, 1 for 25, 2 for 32, and none for 27. And more often than not, he's bowling 3 to 4 overs. So it's a complete role for
Mm.
uh, Hassan Khan this year. Well, not this year, just for the first 3 games whilst Jacob Bethel's out. So we go from Hassan Khan to Bethel, um, and I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's just tough to look at some of these Renegades players and just be happy with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, he's 117 and a half, and he's bat bowl. We're
mm,
talking about a number 6 who could bowl 3 to 4 overs. It is historically a genuinely good super coach role that you can have when guys fill in like this. in that sort of position.
Obviously, you dream of a full lineup of guys that bat 6 or 7 and bowl 4 overs every game. That's the ideal Big Bash Super
Mm.
Coach. You know, your Tom Currans, Daniel Sams, Will Sutherlands. I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head, but those type of guys.
Worse, Jack Edwards.
Yeah, Jack Edwards. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few more. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going.
Tim David was going to be one of those guys, but he doesn't bowl as much. There was Darcy Short once upon a time. Oh,
Take me back. He's basically Matthew Short now.
Although Matthew Short doesn't bowl, I don't think, as much as what Prime Darcy did. I could be wrong.
Prime Darcy could take fifers and hundreds in the same game. I don't think Matthew Short can do that.
Oh,
Anyway.
yeah.
Anyway,
Look, move on. What are we talking about?
we're talking about Hassan Khan and what you thought. Would you pick him?
Who cares? Let's keep talking about Darcy Short. Nah. It's tempting to have him in. It's one of the stronger considerations I've got, as in leaning towards yes, with most of the Renegades players. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and the other thing to take into account is, although he's only playing 3 games and then, he's back to the sidelines, like, you're going to trade your Renegades guys out after 3 games anyway because they have the bye round 3. So it doesn't change anything in terms of the psyche towards Renegades players, having him having such a short availability. So nothing changes for me. We'll look at the number 7 and the captain, Will Sutherland. Now, if we find out he's bowling at some time this week, which what we'll need to look at is the intra-squad games, not intra-squad games, the well, potentially, but the practice matches is what I was trying to say. Because he didn't bowl in grade cricket over the weekend, so he's still not back doing that. Currently, he's a bat 7, captain, not bowling, which is not good for Super Coach. If we find out he's not bowling, he's in a void for me because the ceiling is at most 70 points in the double, and that's with 2 good batting performances. So for me, I'm gonna let that go, and I might look at him after his bye when he's probably dropped to around 110k.
Yep, I agree with sort of everything you said there. Like I said just before, you dream of the guys that bat 6, 7, then bowl 4 overs. And if he's not doing one of those things, I'm not confidently taking one. Like, for me to take Will Sutherland, I want both. I want both things.
Yeah.
And if you take one of those things away, whether it was bowling or batting, like in whatever weird circumstances where he couldn't bat, I don't want to pick him just when he's bowling. Or if he was batting 11, for example, I don't want to pick him just when he's bowling. I don't want to pick him just when he's batting. I want both. I need both. And if he's not going to give me both, I'm not going to have him. He's not welcome in my team.
Or in anyone's team, I think his ownership would plummet if we find out he's not bowling early on.
Currently
someone who
6th in ownership.
6th, yes, and that's because if he is fully fit, he's a must-have. That's the reality. It would knock down Hassan Khan stocks a little bit as well. You probably need to find the 15k and upgrade Hassan Khan to Will Sutherland, just because Sutherland will probably bowl at least 1 over in the final 5, which is what we call the death overs. You have Tom Rogers and Kane Richardson who would do that. Fergus O'Neill's not that guy for death bowling. He's just a wicket taker throughout. Let's keep this moving along. Tom Rogers, not like he's 117 and a half. It's cheap. It might be a worthwhile selection, but for me, I'm gonna let that go only because I believe the next man here, Fergus O'Neill, he will probably be one of the breakout stars of the comp.
Yeah, obviously there's no such thing as a good Tom Rogers. That's what I've learned. But Fergus O'Neill stock's rising the past couple of weeks, like an absolute premium. And I also like that he bowls in long sleeves. He's he's got a mullet of substance. Um, and it's sort of jogging in Jofra Archer type stuff, but he bowls relative like
On
quick
20s.
stuff. Yeah, I've seen 130s from him, but something of substance. It's not Ollie Robinson 117s, that's for sure. So that's something. Um, we did see him a little bit last Big Bash, I think, Fergus O'Neill, and I like what he's about. He's cheaper than the aforementioned Tom Rogers, I believe, sitting at 107,000.
Yeah, so he's
So
10k cheaper.
I like that over Tom Rogers.
Yeah, I do too. Sure, Rogers might bowl some death, but Fergus O'Neill's one of the form bowlers in the country. If
Yep.
there's one thing we've learnt, you pick on form in Supercoach usually. Number 10, Kane Richardson, the cheapest I've seen him in Supercoach.
Mm.
However, he only recently started playing cricket again for the first time since the Big Bash. So I ask you the question, Patrick. Is he overvalued at 97k?
Maybe, which I'm sure is the answer you're looking for.
I'm just stirring the pot a little bit.
I think you take a look at the bigger picture. Yes, he is overvalued, but from a Supercoach sense, I think having him under $100,000 is an absolute steal. He's a bit older, so I'm sort of okay with the fact that he hasn't had a heap of cricket over sort of the winter break. Um, he's got the death stuff, slower balls, an absolute premium. He's good. Like he is a good bowler still. He had it off Big Bash last season, I think. I don't think we'll see it. It's almost he. I say reminds, but it's a bit like Andrew Ty for the Renegades. Kane
Yeah,
Richardson,
okay. Yep.
and obviously Ty has had probably a bit more overall success, but it's similar sort of areas, and there's probably a bit more dependency that the Renegades have on Kane than the Scorchers have on AJ Ty, albeit AJ Ty has been fantastic for a numerous amount of years. I like it. He's in my team at the moment. A lot of players
Yep.
on my team. And
Yeah.
yep,
17 of them, hopefully.
couple
Now,
more.
number 11, of course, Adam Zampa. We won't waste our time. 80k, best white ball spinner or T20 spinner of all time for Australia.
Mm.
Up there in white ball for Australia as well. So, anytime he's 80k, it's just you own him. He's got a double round one. It's a non-negotiable. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay. Well, that should do us for the Melbourne Renegades. Yeah, there's a lot of team previews. They're all available right here on YouTube. So go have a look, subscribe as we release these, and yeah, we will catch you next time.